Thrive Nation, on today's show, we are interviewing a man by the name of Elijah Schaffer. You may be wondering, who is Elijah Schaffer? Well, he's a reporter for the Blaze Network. He also is an investigative journalist, and he's a man who hosts his own show called Slightly Less Offensive on YouTube. And to cover the looting and the riots and all the things that Antifa doesn't want you to know about as they quote-unquote peacefully protest around the country, he's actually been punched in the back of the head by an Antifa rioter with brass knuckles. And then just last night, he was jumped by an angry mob and beaten within an inch of his life. But yet he joins us on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show to share with you the truth about what's happening with Black Lives Matter, the Marxist organization that has hijacked a phrase that we all believe in, the idea that Black Lives Matter. But they've hijacked the phrase, and now they're trying to fundamentally change America by scaring you and keeping you from voting. Now, folks, just shortly after I interviewed Elijah on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show, he was also interviewed by Glenn Beck on the Blaze Network. And so I wanted you to be able to hear Elijah's interview with me right here on the Thrive Time Show, in addition to his interview with Glenn Beck. So now, without any further ado, meet my new friend and a great American patriot who's putting his life literally on the line to share with you the truth about Antifa and the riots, Elijah Schaffer.
The New York Times, they said, are covering it. We're just covering it from a distance, and we can see everything that's going on. These guys are just trying to make this bigger than it is and trying to ratchet up the violence. That's what the New York Times said about your beating.
Glenn, I'm going to tell you this, and this is it's like what we're reporting at night. It's so funny to hear people that aren't there try to counter it, and then reports come out later that we were right. You know, I said that the police lost control of the city, and I got mocked as well by these same journalists. Oh, you're exaggerating. How do you mean they lost control? Well, then the actual police chief says the night was a total loss, and they were unable to get control of the city, stretching several large blocks. This is like a square mile or so area. There was just no ability for police to do anything. With more than 1,000 rioters in just one location. I mean, I would say there would be anywhere from maybe 2,000 to 3,000 rioters last night in just a square mile or so. The police were not prepared, and at one point they just gave up.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
Now, 3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we'll show you how to
Yes, and occasionally no. Thrivers, sometimes. This is an upbeat show. This is a show about success and growing a business, but I have this little theory that it's hard to be successful as a business owner if you're on lockdown. If your business is not open, it's hard to be thriving. And if your business is being looted, it's even more difficult to be thriving. And so on today's show, we're interviewing a man who actually appears to have taken a punch or an elbow or something to the face to get you the facts. And so without any further ado, I want to introduce today's guest onto the Thrive Time Show, Elijah Schaffer. Welcome onto the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
Well, I mean, I've seen better days, and I will say this, not only did multiple stores get looted, but I think I took like maybe a dozen punches and kicks to the body by about 6 different individuals, just because, hey, if there's a lot of fun happening in the city and the businesses are being peacefully destroyed, as a lot of people like to call it, then we got to do what it takes to get the right footage.
You are a reporter. Could you explain what you do for a living?
Can any man explain really what he does for a living? That's a tough question, but realistically, I host a show, a news political show called Slightly Offensive on Blaze TV, and it's just really, really trying to show and expose different narratives that major corporate media outlets won't show. And I have decided that I would insert myself into situations whenever I see that something's happening and I'm realizing that the narrative seems fishy. I head out and explore it for myself to try to tell a different story. And usually the story that comes out of it is pretty shocking, as we've probably everyone knows since George Floyd was killed.
So you work with the Blaze, and so you are a are you kind of like an independent contractor? Is that how that works? Are you an employee of the Blaze?
Both. So like I have multiple jobs for them. I accidentally became a reporter because see, I used to go out and I used to go interview, talk to people, and just like create documentaries and stories about what's going on in America and culture. And then all of a sudden, look back about 5-6 months ago, I randomly became a domestic war reporter. I mean, I've seen multiple people get killed right in front of me. I was about 6 feet away from Kyle Rittenhouse in Kenosha when he got into gun battles with the rioters that were in the streets.
Wow.
A couple people got shot last night, including a 15-year-old girl. I've seen people get hit by cars, slammed in the head with bats. I mean, and I've probably seen 24 buildings and blocks burned to the ground, completely eviscerated. And so I've changed as a man because, some of the dysfunction in the country used to be a little more entertaining, and it turned from people will talk to you to if they find out that you are not complicit in their crimes, they will attempt to kill you.
Now, for the listeners out there that don't know this, Black Lives Matter, the sentiment Black Lives Matter has been hijacked by an organization called Antifa. And a lot of people don't know this, but if you look into Antifa and who's funding Antifa, you're going to find George Soros and the communists that hate us, and that is all cited. If you go to timetofreeamerica.com, timetofreeamerica.com, and you click on the truth about Black Lives Matter, you can see the source of the funding, and it's truly disturbing. So are you in Philadelphia right now?
Unfortunately.
And does Glenn give you the call and say, "Hey, Elijah, we need you to go cover this in Philadelphia"? Do you tell the Blaze team? How does that work?
Yeah, so no, I mean, I'm completely independent in that way. I think what happens is it's like, let me put it in this perspective. I'm not the news, and I'm not here to be the news. I actually believe that the news in 2020 does a very terrible job at telling the story of what's actually going on.
Right.
What I do is I look for evolving events in the country.
Yep.
There was a man named Walter Wallace Jr. who charged, that's in the words of the report, but I would say walked towards repeatedly 2 police officers. Walter Wallace happened to be a black man, as many people do in this neighborhood.
Was he holding
and
a
the
knife?
police officers were white.
Was he holding a knife?
Yeah, so that's the key. That's the caveat that a lot of people are missing. The news has been reporting that a black man was shot by police, which is always what you hear. They just keep leaving out that he was holding a knife. And
real quick, Andrew, Devin, do we have a knife in the room or the hatchet? Do we have the hatchet? I feel like I just want to make sure the listeners get this. It would be, and we're doing this on Zoom, so we get the video footage as well. I just want to make sure the listeners get what you just said. You just said the headlines fail if they leave out the detail that the person who was shot was moving towards police while carrying a knife. Why do they leave out that little detail?
Well, it's very important. I mean, if you look at one of the journalists that I don't want to call out, I don't want to bring any hatred towards him. That's one of the local journalists and affiliates here. Literally wrote on Twitter from this story, FUCK civility, like it's time, like we are angry, basically encouraging riots at the dawn of this. And the reports mentioned everything, that he was a father, that he was a loved son, but they don't mention, that he had a knife and was repeatedly told to put the knife down and continued to approach officers who warned him more than several times. And then he was shot. Like, I think 14 times is the current alleged number.
What I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep this knife ominously in the frame, just to get, because it changes the tone of things when someone's holding a knife and pointing a knife at you, and it changes the whole thing. The whole conversation changes. Now, what time does the looting start in Philadelphia? What time does it? Did they kick that thing off around 4:45? Do they sound the looting alarm at 5:15? How does that work?
Well, here's the deal. That's a good question. I think that it probably started. They had to get off their jobs, because they needed to complain. And as people say. They needed to look for some bread. So they searched all the stores starting about 7 o'clock. They started looking for bread in GameStop, Ross, Dress for Less. They do have bread in Walmart, so that was a good hit.
Okay.
And then also, you think with looters, what really shocked me, and I really don't want to be like, somebody's going to take me out of context here and be like, he's making fun of poor people. I'm not making fun of poor people. I'm just going to say, if I was a looter and I was poor, presuming these people probably
I've been poor.
Like that.
I haven't been a looter, but I've been poor. Okay, I can relate to that part. Okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, presuming I was poor,
yes,
and I decided to loot and I was desperate, I wouldn't go for the Dollar Tree or the Five Below, which is known for selling items under $5. They like immediately went for the Dollar Tree and Five Below, and there was like pharmacies next door. I don't know. I probably would have went for the Xanax or like the Percocet or something that would have sold higher on the street, because I don't know, like a pack of like discount toilet paper is not on the high priorities of valuable stolen goods.
Now, okay. Do you know my cousin married a guy by the name of J.P. Decker? Do you know J.P. Decker?
No, but that's a cool name.
JP works up there at the Blaze in some capacity. How often do you make your way back to Texas? How often do you interact with Glenn Beck?
Well, I mean, I live in Fort Worth, so I live like 25 minutes from the studios, and I probably see Glenn like every week.
What's Glenn like in the studio? Is he typically looting things in the office? What's he like? What's he like off camera?
He's looting high ratings. I'll tell you what, Glenn Beck crushes it in the numbers. Glenn Beck in person is, I always describe this to people. I say, I barely knew Glenn Beck when my mom was battling cancer. She ended up succumbing to it, but I was like a new employee there working with them. And he said, if there's anything I need, even if, he needed to pay my mom's medical bills, he was willing to do anything that my family needed. And that kind of sums him up. I mean, I think with his employees and the people there, if anyone needs help, if anyone needs anything out of his own pocket, out of his own charity, he's like a philanthropist, but also just like a really generous kind guy. He's kind of like a loving grandpa that reads you a nice story in front of a fire that drinks whiskey, except he's Mormon and he doesn't drink whiskey.
Does he? So you're saying that he's sharing this truth from an altruistic motive to save America and to make sure people know the truth. He's not doing this for ratings. I mean, he gets ratings, yes, but Glenn Beck is out there legitimately trying to save America.
Oh, he believes what he's saying. He's one of the few people, and I'm not just saying this because people think I work for Glenn Beck. I don't work for Glenn Beck. I mean, it's a big company and there's a lot of, owners and people out there. But, I'm really actually surprised because Glenn is one of the few people that I talk to that doesn't seem like he's having a person on because he just knows it's a hitting story. It's like he takes things very emotionally deep to his heart, because I know if he's like a lot of us, like it genuinely sucks seeing this stuff happen to the country. And I wish I was more educated to be able to have a better word than sucks, but I only have other curse words that I probably can't say on your podcast to really describe the situation.
So you're there. The looting begins again. Approximately what time did the looting begin yesterday?
When did it end? That's my point. So it was going the night before, and it was like 8 a.m, and they were still running in and out of like Rite Aid and stuff. Just
where are the cops? Where are the cops? Batteries. Where are the police?
I say this really, really sadly. They were there in a way. But we have video footage of this, especially from a journalist named Shelby Talcott from the Daily Caller, really captured this well. They're just chilling in like random parts of the town, like literally like laughing, talking, while dozens and dozens of stores are being completely destroyed. Like I've seen a look in like a teenage boy's face when he's tried hitting on a girl too many times, and he finally has that face where he realizes like she's not into him and he lost this game, and he just looks defeated. I saw like that 12-year-old boy trying to get his first girlfriend but failing miserably like face. It's like the police are like, we did everything we could, but the army should be here, aka the National Guard, some sort of branch of the military or something should intervene. And they weren't there, and the governor said that they would be deployed, and they unfortunately were not deployed. And the police were expecting them to be deployed, and it seemed like they were told to stand down. And I know there's a correlation between the people running the Philadelphia Police Department, and I know that they were involved in running the Portland Police Department just last year. So that's not a good connection.
So is the governor of Philadelphia, or the mayor of Philadelphia, is he a Democrat?
Oh, this is an extremely blue area. Yes, all these. I mean, this is a very, very, very. When this riots happened, the governor called them peaceful protests. That you know where he stands. Like, I mean, people were shot. People were shot.
I have a question. Do you have?
Assaulted.
I'm not sure if you could comment, because you are an investigative journalist. I can't find photos to prove this, but is the governor of Pennsylvania, is his head fully inside his rectum?
I mean, I think you'd have to contact a doctor to get that response, because I'm not sure the connections between people's political parties and how flexible their necks are to insert into the rectum.
Or is his rectum talking? Because maybe it's his rectum that's speaking. Maybe he's done some cosmetic surgery where it's his butt that actually speaks.
Yeah, that sounds believable, because the things that I hear out of his mouth, they really do just sound like they're coming from places like that. It really is true.
Let's not fact check it. Let's just run it like CNN. Let's just run it.
Also, I was going to say, I know I'm getting out of the frame here for a second.
No, get out of the frame. I'm wielding a knife the whole time. Let's keep it bizarre. This is great.
I feel like joining the party. I don't even know where my knife is, but I carry a blade with me, and I was really hoping to find it, because I felt like I wanted to point a knife at you too, so you could get the experience. You know what I mean? I don't want to be selfish.
Now, how did you get? Did you get punched? Did you get elbowed? Did you get what'd they do?
No, I got jumped.
Jumped? What does that mean?
Yeah, like meaning I got punched and kicked at least a dozen times by like a group of people.
Who?
And, like it's not just this. This is cut open.
I can't even tell though. You can't. Not so much from here. You can't even see that. There, that you can't even tell.
Yeah, it's like sliced open. It's still bleeding. I do need sutures, but I'm busy, so
no, you can't
I'll do
tell.
it. I got a lot to do.
Now, do you have any other bruises? Any good bruises you can show? Do you have any other bruises?
I don't know. I haven't looked at my body. I don't have a very good body.
Let's look at your body right now. Let's look at it. Let's look at the.
I do have a tattoo of ATP.
What is ATP?
I have a camera. It's adenosine triphosphate. It's just the energy of your body. My background's actually in molecular biology.
Are you part of Antifa? Are you part of Antifa?
Well, I'm white, so that's 50% of it, but I don't believe in burning and looting, so.
Okay. So
I missed the other half.
People that want to learn more about you, where can they go? Where's the best place to? I mean, your Twitter. I'm surprised you haven't been. I mean, Jack Dorsey's having to testify right now. Jack Dorsey is testifying right now as we speak. The founder of Twitter. But I'm surprised you haven't had this deleted here. But I mean, you've got some incredibly. I mean, your footage. I'm just going to cue it up. This is inside Walmart, 13 hours ago. I mean. This is some incredible. It's not encouraging, but it's incredible. I mean, it's. I don't want to see it, but it's kind of like, those snowboarding fails where you see someone fall and you hope they're okay, but you kind of want to look, but you shouldn't look. This is. And you're filming all this stuff. I mean, this is some crazy stuff. Where's the best place to go to see your content? Yeah,
well, I was going to say, speaking of the censorship. Oh yeah, I got temporarily suspended just a few weeks ago, right before a riot, and I get all types of. I mean, they're trying to take my Twitter down. Even like Harvard University, the research team has written detailed studies blaming me for literally by name for the riots. They're saying my footage and coverage on Twitter of the riots are what are causing more riots. It's not the rioters who are causing the riots, or the organizations encouraging the riots, or the politicians that are endorsing the riots, or the police who are not stopping the riots. It is a journalist who's filming them and posting them on Twitter. It's my fault. Anyway, that's not a New York Times.
Real quick, can I just go off on Harvard for a second? Okay, listen to this. Dr. Lieber, I'm sure you've covered this guy, researched this guy. I'm sure you know about this guy, but Dr. Lieber, okay? This is the guy who's invented this crazy nanotechnology that Bill Gates has purchased and is trying to shove in our arms in the vaccines. I'm reading. This is from the Department of Justice website. I'm going to read this to you. And by the way, for further reading, folks, all you got to do is type in, this is the actual, you can find it right now on Google. Type in Harvard University professor indicted on false statement. Here we go. Lieber. Okay, where is it? I'm going to find it. Oh, here it is. Oh, yes. Under the terms of Lieber's 3-year 1,000 talents contract, WUT allegedly paid Lieber a salary of up to $50,000 per month and living expenses of up to 1 million Chinese and awarded him more than 1.5 million. Anyway, the Chinese we're paying Lieber to work on some crazy crap, some crazy technology, and he failed to disclose that he was doing that. This is Harvard University, okay? So Harvard University is crap. And the idea that I hope Americans wake up to this. You want to, I'll tell you what, I've created this new machine. It's a new machine. It's called the Liberal Creation Machine. What you do is you take a normal kid, you send him to Harvard, and they come back as a godless communist. That's what Harvard is right now. Harvard is a communism creation machine. I'll put a link on the show notes because everybody needs to know this. Harvard's crap. Where's your website? Where can we learn more about you?
Yeah, I would go to youtube.com/slightly offensive or just type in my name, Elijah Schaffer, or Slightly Offensive on YouTube. I run it's not really, because usually this is considered a podcast. Am I on a podcast? Would you call this a podcast?
Yeah, I'll call it a podcast. We'll call it a podcast.
Well, you're a little bit like a show. I run a show. It's more like an entertainment, informative show that airs twice a week. And I do a lot of stuff on the streets. And I swear, man, it's like you said with fails, snowboarding fails and like cat fails and stuff. This is like human fails in just overarching of Western society and civilization. I try to focus on the only interesting topics. So, I encourage people to check it out. Slightly offensive. And I do warn you, it is not politically correct and it is slightly offensive. So
now, do you, so we'll go to youtube.com/slightly offensive. That's youtube.com/slightly offensive. Also, you're on Twitter. You just do a Google search right now for Twitter and then the word Elijah. It's ELIJAH, and Schaffer, SCHAA or SCHAFFER. So Elijah Schaffer, SCHAFFER. Final two questions for you. I'm feeling good right now, and I'm not feeling good about what's going on, but I'm feeling good about what's going to happen because I believe that the average American soccer mom does not want to defund the police. They don't want to burn buildings and loot and riot. And President Trump won last time. He won the election last time with 8% of the black vote. And my friends, and it could be just a confirmation bias, but a lot of my friends happen to be black, and they're telling me, man, I'm going Trump. I got to go Trump. I cannot go Trump. So Trump has to have gone up at least beyond 8% of the black vote. A lot of my Hispanic friends, they say they're voting for Trump. A lot of soccer moms that were voting Democrat because they always have are now hearing Biden talk about defunding the police, and they're checking the Republican box. Are you feeling good about a Trump victory? Come on, give me some encouragement. If don't lie to me, but just kind of manipulate me if you need to. Make me feel good.
No. I'll be serious here. Philadelphia is a pretty blue city, and I travel. This is actually a pretty good perspective. I basically travel to blue cities for a living. That's basically what I do. I don't mean to be politically traveling, but it just so happens that the chaos and the violence is only happening in very blue areas. And the amount of Trump and Biden signs that I see is so astounding. It's so incredibly high that I will probably see 20 or more Trump flags and signs for every one Biden sign. Even here in Philadelphia, my new producer was like, why are there so many Trump flags? And we get in the car with a Jordanian, this is how you call it, from Jordan, I'm pretty sure, a Jordanian Uber driver. And like, I'm just like, hey, how's the support out here? And he's just like, yeah, I'm voting for Trump. And he's got an accent and everything. He's like, I don't even like Trump. Even says, like, I don't even like the guy. Believe me, he's like, I don't like him, but his policies make sense and he's for law and order. And people are changing their minds because that's why you'll see Biden immediately trying to condemn violence and stuff but it's too late. I mean, these cities it's too late. And it's at the point where I think people are realizing that the crap hole, can I say crap on your?
No, crap hole, yes.
Okay. The crap hole of what these large cities are can quickly become a national pandemic. And I think that the average citizen, I was talking to a Korean shop owner who's voting for Trump. She said she was part of the rooftop Koreans in LA during the riots, and she can't handle these riots anymore. And she says, I will take my gun, I will kill you. And I was like, oh, shoot, yeah. She's like, she's being serious. And people, I think, are just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's why they're going to vote for Trump, because they realize they see through the BS. They know Biden's fake. And even if they don't like parts of Trump, I don't know why people don't like Trump. I personally like him a lot. I think he's cool. But a lot of people have their opinions. They're still voting for him because at least you know what you're getting. At least he's honest.
Now, do you, again, when you got jumped, I just want to make sure I recap this. Where were you when you got punched in the face multiple times?
Yeah, I mean, I could send you some video footage too if you need anything that shows me getting jumped from the Daily Caller. Caught it on film. But I was in a discount store while people were stealing off-brand snacks and very high-ticket items like AC-powered digital alarm clocks and umbrellas.
And did they walk up to you and say, "Hey, we're gonna punch you in the face now," or how does it happen?
Yeah, well, they were, first of all, they were targeting specifically white people last night. So the people who were targeted last night were they only targeted white journalists, unfortunately. And I know that it was racially motivated because of the racial slurs they used during the attacks and after the fact. Including like calling white people, any white person, white supremacists. There was a real, you can see where this is like, this is where the like people that are progressive will think that, oh, this guy's racist. I'm just trying to report accurately. I don't have an opinion to say this. I'm just telling you, I was there. This is what was happening. And usually when people are using racial slurs when they're attacking someone, I consider that to be a hate crime. So I believe I was a victim of a hate crime. Even though I don't believe in hate crimes. I don't even think they're real. I think if you're committing a crime against someone you hate, you're full of hate probably. But I'm saying, legally speaking, I think it would be considered a hate crime. And they tried to attack me again a second. I kept reporting. But basically what happened is they walked up to me and they wouldn't let white people film. There was, and I know this also too, because there was multiple Hispanic journalists all around me doing the exact same thing. And they were completely fine. But me and the other white guy were completely chased out. And they just immediately started hitting me, but telling me like, stop filming. And I tried what Black Lives Matter told me earlier in the night. They said, we would stop the violence if people just apologized. So I tried to apologize. I was like, I'm sorry. Well, apparently that Black Lives Matter leader wasn't correct, because I apologized and they still proceeded to sort of like punch me in the face.
As a aspiring investigative journalist, I have to ask one more final tough question, kind of a bonus fry question.
Bonus. Nice.
Racial slurs. You heard racial slurs. Did you hear any people that could enunciate well while saying racist things as well? You heard the slurs. Were there any people that could speak clearly without slurring their words?
They were speaking clearly, and unfortunately their racist slurs have now led to me slurring because I can't enunciate well.
Hey, brother, I seriously, I said a little prayer for you this morning. And I mean that. And I saw what happened, and I wanted to get you on here to share your story with our 500,000 listeners. And don't stop. You're waking a lot of people up. You're changing opinions. You're opening eyes. You're awakening people that need to hear this. You're doing a great work. You're getting paid very little. You're working a lot, but you're making an impact. You're making an impact. No, I mean, you are making an impact, and don't ever stop. Just keep it going. Stay encouraged. You are making a difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Clay. I really, really appreciate that.
All right, brother. You have a great day.
Hey, you have a better one.